In life, we often find ourselves searching for blessings, those moments of joy, provision, or answered prayer that seem to make everything right. We long for the tangible evidence of God's goodness, for the reassurance that He is with us and working in our lives. But sometimes blessings don't arrive in the form we expect, and often they seem hidden from view, concealed beneath the surface of our circumstances. It can be tempting to think that God has overlooked our needs or forgotten the desires of our hearts. Yet throughout Scripture, we see a recurring truth. God often hides blessings, not to withhold them from us, but to draw us into a deeper trust in Him. God, in His wisdom, sometimes conceals His gifts, revealing them in His timing and in ways that lead us closer to His heart. Hidden blessings await those who choose to trust. Those who are willing to walk by faith, believing that God is working even when they cannot see it. This idea of hidden blessings is beautifully captured in Romans 8:28, where Paul writes, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. Notice that Paul doesn't say some things are only the obvious things. He says all things. Every part of our lives, even the hardships and uncertainties, are woven together by God for our good. But this verse doesn't mean that we will always understand how He is working or that we will immediately see the blessings He has in store. Sometimes the greatest blessings are hidden in places we would never think to look, in circumstances we would rather avoid, or in seasons of waiting that stretch our faith. God calls us to trust Him, to believe that He is actively working on our behalf, even when the evidence is not immediately clear. These hidden blessings are treasures reserved for those who hold fast to their faith, who trust in God's goodness, and are willing to follow Him even when the path is uncertain. Consider the process of mining precious gems or metals. Beneath the earth's surface, in dark, difficult to reach places, lie treasures of immense value. These treasures don't appear on the surface. They require effort, time, and trust that the search will be worth it. In a similar way, God's blessings are often buried in places that require us to dig deeper in our faith, to trust that He is leading us towards something precious and meaningful. God's hidden blessings are like those treasures. They require patience, perseverance, and a willingness to trust that He is guiding us to something greater than we could have ever anticipated. God doesn't hide blessings from us as a means of withholding His goodness. Rather, He hides them so that in seeking Him, we may find more than just the blessing. We find the giver Himself. Through the journey of trust, God reveals Himself in ways that enrich our souls, filling us with a faith that sustains us far beyond any single blessing. The story of Job is one of the most profound examples of this truth. Job was a man of integrity and faith, yet he faced unimaginable losses. His family, his wealth, his health, all were taken from him in what seemed like a series of unthinkable tragedies. In his suffering, it must have seemed to Job as though God's blessings had vanished, as though he had been abandoned. And yet, hidden within Job's trials was a profound blessing, a deeper revelation of God's presence and sovereignty. Job's journey was not just about the restoration of his fortunes. It was about the transformation of his faith. In his suffering, Job encountered God in a way he never had before. He came to understand the vastness of God's wisdom and the depth of His care. And in the end, God restored Job's life abundantly, giving him blessings beyond what he had lost. Job's hidden blessing was not just in the restoration of his material possessions. It was in the intimacy he gained with God, the revelation of God's unfailing love that carried him through his darkest hour. In our own lives, we may not face trials like Job, but we all experience seasons when God's blessings seem hidden, when our prayers go unanswered, or when life feels uncertain. These are the times when we're tempted to doubt, to question God's goodness, or to wonder if He truly cares. But it is precisely in these moments that God invites us to trust Him more deeply. He calls us to look beyond our immediate circumstances and to hold on to the promise that He is working all things together for our good. This kind of trust requires surrender, a letting go of our need for immediate answers, and a willingness to believe that God's timing and ways are perfect. As we trust Him, we position ourselves to receive blessings that are not just temporary but eternal, blessings that go beyond our understanding and reveal the heart of a loving Father who is always with us. Hidden blessings also teach us to live with a sense of expectancy, to wake up each day with a heart that says, Lord, I trust that you have good things prepared for me, even if I can't see them yet. This kind of faith transforms the way we see our lives. It changes our perspective from one of doubt to one of hope, from one of impatience to one of peace. Living with this expectancy doesn't mean that life will always be easy or that every day will bring visible blessings. It means that we are anchored in the belief that God's love is constant, that His purpose is unchanging, and that His blessings will come in His perfect time. God has a way of surprising us, of revealing blessings at just the right moment in ways that exceed our expectations and fill our hearts with gratitude. Hidden blessings are often the ones that shape us the most, that draw us closer to God, and that deepen our understanding of His love. So today, let us choose to trust that God's hidden blessings await us. Let us walk in faith, believing that even when we cannot see, God is at work, weaving together a plan that is for our good and His glory. Let us remember that His blessings are not always immediately visible, but they are always present, waiting to be uncovered by those who choose to walk by faith. And as we continue on this journey, may we discover not only the blessings God has prepared, but also the immeasurable joy of knowing Him more fully, trusting Him more deeply, and resting in the assurance that His love is ever present, ever faithful, and always bring good into our lives. Hidden blessings await the trustful, and as we open our hearts to this truth, we will find that God's goodness is far greater than anything we could imagine. Trusting God's timing is one of the most challenging yet transformative acts of faith we can experience. We live in a world that prioritizes speed, efficiency, and instant results, but God doesn't operate on our timeline. His ways are higher, His vision wider, and His understanding beyond what we could ever grasp. In our limited perspective, we often want God's blessings to arrive on our schedule. We want answers now, breakthroughs today, and results without delay. But the truth is that God, in His infinite wisdom, knows the precise moment when His blessings will have the most impact in our lives. Trusting God's timing is about releasing our hold on control, letting go of our own agendas, and placing our complete confidence in His perfect plan. And often, it is in the waiting that He prepares us to receive the blessings He has hidden along the journey. The story of Joseph beautifully illustrates what it means to trust God's timing, especially when the waiting seems long and the purpose seems unclear. Joseph was just a teenager when he received dreams from God, visions that promised him a future of leadership and influence. But what followed was far from the fulfillment of those dreams. Instead, Joseph's life took a series of unexpected and painful turns. He was sold into slavery by his own brothers, falsely accused by Potiphar's wife, and thrown into prison without a clear path to freedom. For 13 years, Joseph endured hardship, rejection, and isolation. And through all of it, there was no evidence that his dreams were coming to pass. In those years, Joseph had every reason to doubt, every reason to wonder if God had forgotten him. But Joseph chose to remain faithful, trusting that God's timing would reveal the purpose behind his trials. And in the end, God's plan unfolded in ways that Joseph could never have imagined. He rose to a position of power in Egypt, second only to Pharaoh, and was able to save his family and an entire nation from famine. Joseph's story teaches us that while God's timing may not match our expectations, it is always perfect. And the blessings He has for us are worth the wait. In our own lives, we may not face the same trials as Joseph, but we all know what it's like to wait on God. Perhaps you're waiting for healing, for a relationship to be restored, or for a breakthrough in a difficult situation. And in those seasons of waiting, it's easy to feel discouraged, to wonder if God is hearing our prayers or if He has forgotten us. But it's in these moments that God calls us to a deeper level of trust. He invites us to trust not only in His ability to bless us, but in His wisdom to know the right time. Waiting on God's timing is not a passive experience. It's an active demonstration of faith. It's choosing to say, Lord, I trust You even when I don't understand. I believe You are working even when I cannot see. This kind of trust strengthens our relationship with God, builds resilience in our spirit, and prepares us to receive the blessings He has stored up for us. Sometimes the very waiting we find difficult is the process God uses to shape our character, to deepen our faith, and to prepare us for the fullness of His blessings. God's timing is always intertwined with His love for us. He is not in a hurry, nor is He ever delayed. God operates on a divine schedule that is beyond our comprehension, yet always aligned with His purpose for our lives. Psalm 27:14 encourages us to wait for the Lord. Be strong and take heart and wait for the Lord. Waiting on God is not a sign of inactivity. It is a position of strength, an act of faith that shows we believe God is working behind the scenes in ways that are beyond our understanding. In waiting, God is doing a deep work within us, preparing us for the blessings He has set aside, blessings that are often hidden from view until we are ready to receive them. This process teaches us patience, humility, and dependence on Him. God's timing shapes us, making us more like Christ, refining us in ways that only waiting can accomplish. And when the time comes, when the blessings are revealed, we can look back and see the intricate ways God was at work all along, turning every delay into an opportunity for growth, every setback into a setup for His perfect plan. Trusting in God's timing also allows us to experience His peace in the midst of uncertainty. Instead of striving, worrying, or trying to force outcomes, we learn to rest in the knowledge that God is in control. His peace replaces our anxiety as we surrender our timelines to Him. Philippians 4:6-7 reminds us to not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. when we wait on God's timing, we find that His peace fills our hearts, reassuring us that we are in His hands, that He has not forgotten us, and that His plans for us are good. This peace is not the absence of longing or desire, but the presence of trust, a quiet confidence that God is faithful to fulfill His promises. So today, if you find yourself waiting, remember that God's timing is perfect. Trust that He sees the bigger picture, that He knows exactly what you need and when you need it. Trust that He is preparing you even now for the blessings He has in store. Embrace this season as a time of growth, a time of preparation, a time to draw closer to Him. Let go of the urge to control, to rush, or to doubt. Instead, allow God to work in His timing, knowing that when His blessings are revealed, they will be greater, deeper, and more impactful than anything you could have orchestrated on your own. Like Joseph, you may not see the full plan, but trust that God is at work in every detail, and that His blessings, though hidden, are waiting to be revealed at just the right moment. God's timing, everything is beautiful. Everything is purposeful, and everything leads us closer to the heart of the one who loves us more than we could ever imagine. Finding peace in the unknown is a journey of faith that invites us to surrender fully to God's plan, even when we cannot see the way forward. In a world that craves control and clarity, trusting God with the parts of our lives that feel uncertain is a profound act of faith. We are naturally inclined to seek security in what we understand, to find comfort in what we can see, and to gain confidence from knowing the next step. But walking with God often means stepping into places where the path is unclear and the future is hidden. It means placing our hand in His, trusting that He sees what we cannot and knows what we do not. Peace in the unknown does not come from understanding every detail. It comes from knowing that the one who holds our future is faithful and loving, that His intentions toward us are always good. When we embrace this truth, we find a peace that transcends our circumstances, a peace that anchors us in God's love and calms our restless hearts. The story of Abraham is a powerful example of finding peace in the unknown. God called Abraham to leave everything familiar, his home, his family, and his country, to journey to a land that God would show him. God didn't provide Abraham with a detailed map or a clear timeline. He simply asked Abraham to trust Him. Imagine the questions that must have arisen in Abraham's heart. Where would he go? How would he know when he arrived? What challenges would he face along the way? Yet Abraham obeyed, setting out on a journey into the unknown, solely on the strength of God's promise. His peace did not come from knowing every detail, but from knowing the one who had called him. Abraham's journey teaches us that peace is not the result of having all the answers. It is the fruit of faith in God's unchanging character. Abraham trusted that God would fulfill His promises, that every step of his journey was guided by a loving hand, and that even in the unknown, he was never alone. In our own lives, God often calls us to trust Him in ways that stretch our faith and challenge our desire for control. Perhaps you are facing a decision without clear direction, waiting for answers that haven't come, or moving forward in an area of life where the outcome is uncertain. It's natural to feel apprehensive, to wonder if you're on the right path, or to worry about what lies ahead. But in these moments, God is inviting you to find peace, not in your circumstances, but in His presence, He is calling you to let go of the need to understand every detail and to rest in His promise to be with you. Proverbs 3:5-6 reminds us, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your path straight. This verse doesn't promise that God will show us every step before we take it, but it assures us that when we trust Him, He will direct our paths. Finding peace in the unknown means releasing our reliance on our own understanding and choosing to depend fully on God's wisdom. Trusting God in the unknown transforms our perspective. Instead of seeing uncertainty as a source of fear, we begin to see it as an opportunity to deepen our faith. The unknown becomes a space where God's power, love, and wisdom are most evident, a place where we experience His presence in ways that we might otherwise miss. When we don't have all the answers, we are reminded of our dependence on God, of our need for His guidance, and of the peace that comes only from trusting in His plan. God often uses these seasons of uncertainty to draw us closer to Him, to teach us that He is enough, that His grace is sufficient, and that His love is constant, regardless of what lies ahead. It is in the unknown that we come to understand that our security is not in the clarity of the path, but in the certainty of God's presence. His peace fills the spaces where our understanding ends, reminding us that we are held by a God who knows every detail, who sees the beginning from the end, and who is faithful to guide us through every valley and over every mountain. Consider the words of Isaiah 26:3. You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast because they trust in you. God promises peace to those who fix their minds on Him, who choose to trust Him despite the uncertainties around them. This peace is not a fragile, fleeting feeling. It is a steadfast assurance rooted in God's unchanging nature as we focus our minds and hearts on who God is, His faithfulness, His goodness, His love. We find a peace that remains unshaken by the storms of life. This peace guards our hearts and minds, giving us the strength to face the unknown with courage, knowing that our lives are in the hands of a loving Father who will never abandon us. Peace in the unknown is not about denying our fears or ignoring our questions. It's about bringing them to God, laying them at His feet, and trusting that His plans for us are good, even when we cannot see the full picture. If you are standing in a season of uncertainty today, I encourage you to lean into the peace that only God can provide. Surrender your need for control, release your fear of the unknown, and trust that God is working in ways you cannot yet understand. Let go of the questions that weigh on your heart and instead hold on to the truth that God is with you, guiding each step, and that His love will sustain you through every moment of doubt. God's peace is not the absence of uncertainty. It is His presence in the midst of it. When we choose to trust Him, to rely on His wisdom and rest in His timing, we open ourselves to experience a peace that the world cannot give, a peace that only comes from knowing that our lives are secure in the hands of a faithful God. So walk forward with courage, even if the path is unclear. Keep your heart anchored in His promises, knowing that God is faithful to lead you, even in the unknown. His love is your guide, His word is your foundation, and His peace is your strength. As you trust Him with the parts of your life that feel uncertain, may you discover that His peace truly does surpass all understanding, filling your heart with a confidence that God is with you, that He is for you, and that His plans for you are good. Peace in the unknown is God's gift to those who trust Him. It is the calm assurance that no matter what tomorrow holds, you are held in the love of a God who is already there, preparing blessings beyond what you could ever imagine. Recognizing God's blessings in unexpected places is one of the most humbling and awe-inspiring experiences of faith. Often we look for blessings in moments of ease, in times of abundance, or in circumstances that match our desires. But God, in His wisdom and love, frequently chooses to reveal His blessings in places we might overlook or even avoid. He brings blessings out of trials, out of challenges, and out of the moments when life feels the hardest. When we open our hearts to this truth, we begin to see that God's blessings are not confined to what feels comfortable or easy. They are woven into the fabric of our daily struggles and hidden within the difficulties that we would never choose for ourselves. Recognizing these blessings requires a shift in perspective, a willingness to look beyond the surface of our circumstances and to trust that God is at work in ways we may not yet understand. In doing so, we find that His love is present not only in the high points of life, but in the valleys, where His blessings become most transformative. The story of Ruth is a profound example of God's blessings emerging from unexpected places. Ruth's life was marked by loss and hardship. She was a widow in a foreign land, far from the security of family and home. Her future seemed uncertain, and her options were limited. But despite her circumstances, Ruth chose to remain loyal to her mother-in-law, Naomi. And to the God of Israel, she faithfully gleaned in the fields, gathering the leftovers just to survive. Yet, even in her struggle, God was working. He saw Ruth's faithfulness, her loyalty, and her quiet endurance. He was guiding her steps, leading her to Boaz's field, not by coincidence, but by divine orchestration. What appeared to be a simple act of survival was actually God positioning Ruth for a blessing that would change her life and future. Through her union with Boaz, Ruth found not only provision and protection, but became part of the lineage of David, and ultimately, Jesus Christ. What started as a story of loss became a story of redemption. And God's hidden blessings were revealed in ways Ruth could never have foreseen. In our own lives, we often face situations that feel hopeless or too challenging to bear. We experience setbacks, losses, and moments that test the limits of our faith. In those times, it's natural to wonder if God is truly present, if He sees our struggles, or if He has a purpose for the pain. But it's precisely in these challenging moments that God often plants blessings hidden beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered by faith. He takes the very things that seem broken and uses them to build something beautiful. Romans 8:28 reminds us, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. This is not a promise that we will be spared from hardship, but a promise that God will bring good out of every situation, even the ones that seem the darkest. The blessings may not be immediately apparent, but they are there, waiting for us to trust God enough to see beyond our present pain. Finding God's blessings in unexpected places requires us to let go of our preconceived ideas about how God should work. It means surrendering our desires for comfort and control and allowing God to reveal His purpose in His own way and time. When we do, we begin to see blessings in places we never imagined. We find that God uses hardship to develop resilience, that He uses waiting to deepen our faith, and that He uses loss to draw us closer to His heart. Our struggles become opportunities to experience God's strength. Our weaknesses become vessels for His grace, and our disappointments become stepping stones toward greater faith. God's blessings often come wrapped in the packaging of challenges. But within those challenges lie the seeds of growth, strength, and a deeper relationship with Him. Through these experiences, we come to know God, not just as a provider of material blessings, but as a sustainer, a comforter, and a redeemer. Consider how many times we have looked back on a difficult season and realized that it was there, in the midst of struggle, that God was closest to us. The very trials we thought would break us became the means by which God strengthened us. The waiting we thought would lead to despair became a season of preparation for something greater. The loss we thought would leave us empty became the opening for God to fill us with His love and purpose in ways we never anticipated. These are the hidden blessings that God places in our lives. Blessings that reveal His love, His faithfulness, and His ability to turn all things for good. When we open our eyes to see these blessings, we are reminded that God's presence is constant, that His love is unwavering, and that His power is not limited by our circumstances. If you are walking through a difficult season today, I encourage you to look for God's hand in the unexpected places. Ask Him to show you the blessings hidden within your struggle, the ways He is using your circumstances to shape you, to teach you, and to draw you closer to Him. Trust that He is with you in every step, working in ways you may not see now, but will one day understand. When we begin to look for God's blessings in unexpected places, we discover that His love is far more present and active than we ever realized. We come to see that He is a God who brings beauty from ashes, who turns mourning into dancing, and who uses even the hardest moments of our lives to accomplish His good purposes. So let us be people who look beyond the obvious, who trust that God is working in every detail, and who believe that His blessings are often hidden in the places we least expect. May we have eyes to see His goodness in every season, hearts open to His presence in every trial, and faith to trust that He is using all things to bring about blessings that go beyond our understanding. As we embrace this truth, we will find that God's love truly does bring blessings from unexpected places, and our lives will become testimonies of His grace, His power, and His unending faithfulness. As we conclude this journey through understanding how hidden blessings await those who trust God, let's pause and reflect on what it means to live with a heart of expectancy and faith. God's blessings are not limited to what we can see or understand. His love is constantly at work in ways that surpass our comprehension, reaching into every corner of our lives, filling even the broken places with purpose. When we choose to trust Him fully, even when the path is unclear or the waiting is long, we are stepping into a life marked by His presence, a life that recognizes that He is always working for our good. This is the invitation He extends to each of us, to live with our eyes set on Him, to let go of our desire to control or understand every detail, and to embrace a life of surrender and faith, confident that His blessings are woven into every season of our journey. God calls us to live with a trust that goes beyond what we feel and a faith that stands firm even when we don't see immediate results. This trust is not passive, it is active, a choice we make daily to believe in the promises He has given us. It is about waking up each morning with a heart that says, Lord, I trust You today. I trust that you are at work in ways I cannot see, and I trust that the blessings you have prepared for me are on their way. Such trust transforms our perspective. It shifts us from doubt to confidence, from anxiety to peace, and from despair to hope. It opens our hearts to see His blessings in places we might have overlooked, and to understand that even in the waiting, God is shaping us, preparing us, and positioning us to receive His best. Let this be the call on your heart today, to live a life of faith, to look beyond what is visible, and to embrace the reality that God is with you, that He is guiding you, and that His blessings are already woven into the story of your life. Jeremiah 29. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. These words are not just comforting. They are a call to action, a call to align our lives with God's promises, to step forward each day with the assurance that His plans are unfolding, and that His love is at the center of every detail. God's plans are not bound by our understanding, and His blessings often come in ways that surprise us, in timing that we may not expect but can trust fully. When we live with this assurance, we are empowered to walk through life with a spirit of hope, a heart full of gratitude, and a faith that rests in His goodness. So today, I challenge you to take that step of faith, to trust God with the unknowns, and to release your hold on the need for immediate answers. Choose to believe that He has hidden blessings waiting to be revealed in every part of your journey. Trust that even the struggles, the disappointments, and the unanswered prayers are part of His plan to bring you closer to Him, to grow you in ways you could not achieve on your own, and to bless you with a life that reflects His glory. Live each day with expectancy, with a heart ready to receive, knowing that God's love will never fail you, that He is faithful to fulfill His promises, and that His blessings are greater than anything you could imagine. As we close, let this truth resonate deeply in your heart. God is not only able, but He is willing to bless you. He desires to fill your life with good things, to walk with you through every valley, and to bring you into places of peace, purpose, and fulfillment. His blessings are often hidden, but they are always there, waiting for the right time, waiting for us to open our hearts to His perfect plan. Let us live with the courage to believe in His timing, with the patience to wait on His goodness, and with the faith to trust in His love. And as we do, let our lives be a testament to the beauty of God's faithfulness, a reflection of His grace, and a witness to the countless blessings He has prepared for those who trust Him.